evening this evening. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in for this interview that I have with a supporter of the OHIO podcast, Dennis Mohr. I wanted to do a little quick intro to let you all know that there was no intro to this interview. We literally hit record and just jumped into the conversation. It was such a good conversation. I didn't want to interrupt it, so I thought I will come back, do a quick little intro, let you all know that Dennis is a great dude and fantastic interview, and you're all going to love it. Do us a big favor, go ahead and hit that like button, share the show if you don't mind. If you're not already, please subscribe and leave us a comment. Let Dennis know how much you appreciate him being a part of Buckeye Nation and a big supporter of the OHIO podcast. Enjoy the interview, everybody.
I have an interesting Buckeye introduction to the Buckeye Nation. My mother was pregnant with me in 1954, and my parents are building their first home. Their best friends were from Wisconsin. The husband, Cliff, had graduated from Wisconsin and was at University of Dayton get his master's degree. And they were helping. They were laying tile in the basement. And number one, Ohio State was playing number 2 Wisconsin that day, and in Columbus. And my mom's 9 months pregnant with me. And Hopalong Cassidy intercepted a pass, and everybody ran it back for a touchdown. And everybody got excited, and my mother's water broke. So. My dad freaked out, couldn't drive. So Cliff from Wisconsin, him and his wife jumped in the car with my mom and dad, drove him to the hospital in Dayton to deliver me. So that's my introduction to being a Buckeye. Thanks to Hopalong Cassidy for intercepting that pass.
Dennis, induced by
They had it on the radio. Of course, there was no television like that back in those days. So, but anyway, so yeah, I grew up in Clayton, right outside of Dayton. Went to Northmont High School, and we've had quite a few Buckeyes from Northmont over the years. C.J. Barnett and Kurt Coleman are the last two. Nigel Glover was in and out the last couple of years. He's back at Northwestern now.
Yeah.
So had a couple buddies that played for Woody back in the 70s.
Really?
Yeah. Larry Kane, who was starting tight end for the 75 team, blocked for Archie. So went to quite a few games. I didn't go to Ohio State. I actually went to the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point up in northern Wisconsin. I was accepted at Ohio State, but I wanted to go into fisheries biology, and Wisconsin-Stevens Point had one of the best programs in the country. So I decided to go there. But I never left my Buckeye fandom.
Yeah, right?
I came back for several games, came back for the 72 game against Michigan. And that was a great game. That was, I think, 14-11. Michigan was had gotten the ball and drove down. And then we got the ball back, and there was about 10, 20 seconds left, and everybody rushed the field and tore the goalpost down in the north or in the south end zone. I don't know if you remember that game or not. I ran out. I ran out with all my other buddies, and Woody grabbed me by the back of my jacket and told me to get off the field. And he didn't want the goalpost to come down because the wind was blowing out of the south. And if Michigan got the ball back and tried to do a field goal, they would have to reverse the field and go back towards the closed end, and they would have the wind at their back. So anyway, he grabbed a hold of me and told me to get off the field. I don't know how many kids he grabbed that day.
Oh, I bet he was grabbed a few. Speaking of Woody, we were Chris and I were down at the Horseshoe a couple years ago when Iowa was playing Ohio State, and we ran into a fella who went to school back when Woody was head coach, and he said we used to call him the ASS kicker, and I said, "Oh yeah, why is that?" And he goes, "Well, back in those days, you could go watch practice. No, there was nothing stopping you. And they would practice inside the shoe." And he goes, "We'll never forget. We were in the shoe watching practice, and there was a couple bad snaps, and Woody had enough with the center, and he had him get down in his stance at the ball, and he said, 'You snap the ball bad one more time.' And he goes, 'I'm going to kick you,' and it happened, and
Uh,
they said he kicked the guy in the backside and lifted him up off the ground." So they started calling him the butt kicker.
he he is something else. I was up there one time, and I won't say who the player was, but we came back from the bars, and one of the players went running down the hall of the dorm and jumped and hit his head on the T-bar of the Cusick ceiling, and
Yeah.
popped the ceiling out. Just laid his top of his head wide open. So people started screaming, "We need to get him to the hospital. We need to get him to the hospital. We need to get him to the hospital before Woody finds out." So a buddy of mine had his car up there. We got the guy in the car, had a sheet wrap or pillowcase on his head. We get him into the emergency room, walk in the door, and there stands Woody.
Oh my god.
It's like, how in the hell did you know? But he knew. So he was something else. He used to come to our high school quite a bit. I met him a couple times at our high school because he recruited out of our high school. So he was a he was a hell of a guy. So
Yeah. Yeah.
my
A
first
real
college Woody. Um, so yeah, then after I graduated, I got a job with the Veterans Administration, and I traveled all around. First job was in Detroit, and then ended up in Pittsburgh for a couple of years. That was a great place. That was during the Steel Curtain days. I
Mhm.
got to see a lot of the Pittsburgh games there. Then moved on out west. Uh, got to Portland about '88. Um, met a bunch of Buckeyes here right at the beginning, and we've had our club out here now going on 35 years.
Yeah.
Uh, we don't miss a game unless we all go to the game, like the
Yeah.
Oregon game. We had quite a few of our members that weren't there, but we have a pretty active club. Spent some time in Utah uh, during the Urban Meyer days. Got a got a great story about that.
Oh, let's hear that one.
We were setting up for the Michigan game, 2004. We had a little bar we used there, but for Michigan, we went to uh, the Marriott Hotel at the university. Well, we didn't know this, but that's where the Utah football team spent the night before their home games. Well, 2004, they're playing. Utah was undefeated.
Yeah.
He had Alex Smith, the quarterback, Heisman Trophy, number one draft choice, and we didn't know it, but they were staying at that hotel. Herb Street and Fowler and Corso, they were staying there too. And the bar there, first of all, the manager at that hotel was a Buckeye, went to Ohio State, graduated. So he always, Utah has some pretty strange rules, on liquor and openings and that. But he had a full bar on a mezzanine between the main floor and the basement where all the conference rooms were. So we would get that. We'd get there early, get set up, decorated, balloons and that. We had a Woody cutout we set at the entrance. And in Utah, you had to sign people in to the bar. Yeah, they had to sign in their name and age and all that crap.
Yeah.
So I was getting that all set up at the front, and someone goes, "What's this all about?" And I look up, and it's Urban. I said, "Oh, Coach Meyer." I said, "Hi, this is the Ohio State Alumni Club of Utah, and this is our annual Michigan game watch. He goes, oh, and he's looking around. We got balloons up and stuff. He goes, oh, that looks pretty cool. He goes, I need to ask you a favor. I go, okay. He goes, my team's coming down a little bit to go to breakfast downstairs. He said, I want them focused. So, and a lot of us were big Utah fans too. He said, so when we come down the stairs, I don't want any clapping or yelling or screaming or any distractions whatsoever. I said, yes, coach. Yeah, fine. We'll make sure. So as people came in, we told them, Utah's players are coming down for breakfast. Don't say anything. Don't clap or yell or whatever. Just Coach Meyer wants them focused. Okay, great. So game kicks off, and there's still people coming in. I'm up front. So here comes the team. There's a pretty wide staircase coming down from the main floor. And here comes the team in their wet sweatpants. Urban goes by, waves at me. Good luck today. You too, coach. Goes on down to the basement. So here comes the team, and they're all looking at me. All of a sudden, Alex Smith, who's about a foot taller than everybody else, Alex Smith goes, OH! I go, no. And he goes, and everybody else goes, IO! And Alex Smith goes, OH! And everybody's looking at me like I'm the biggest dumb son of a bitch. Because here's the team yelling OH at top of their lungs. And I'm like, oh no, Urban's going to kill me. He's going to come running up the stairs and he's going to kill me. So they walked on down and got down the basement. I'm thinking, oh, he's going to come up here and kill me. So, but the last two guys coming down, there was a guy in a blue sport coat and an orange tie, and a little fellow, and I recognized him as his dad. So they waved at us and then walked on down for breakfast. Well, a little bit later, the team was coming back up, and Urban's dad came up and goes, "What's going on here?" And I said, "Well, this is the Ohio State Alumni Club game watch for the Michigan game." He goes, "Huh?" He goes, "Oh, I sent two of my kids to Ohio State. I should probably come in and watch the game." I said, "Well, I'm getting ready to sit down." I said, "Why don't you come over and sit down at my table?" So Urban's dad and this other gentleman in a blue sport coat and an orange tie, and I remember that, they came over a table, and I bought a picture, and they watched the whole second half with them. And Urban's dad kept saying, "My son's going to be coach one day at Ohio State."
Oh, really?
Son's going to be coach. So he also gave us some tickets for the game that night. That game was sold out, and it was like November 30th, and it was cold. I mean, that was the coldest game I've ever been to. Is that BYU Utah game?
I was gonna say, usually do they play BYU at the end of the season? That's Utah and Yeah, that's when Utah and BYU play.
That's when they used to play, when they were in the same conference and that. I think they play earlier in the year now.
Okay.
Like they're talking about us and Michigan doing.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me that much. As long as we get to play them.
Right.
That's all I care about. So anyway, Utah won that game. Well, they went to the Fiesta Bowl. They beat Pitt, and they ended up number 2 in the country. I forget who won that year, but the Utah was number 2. And Alex won the Heisman Trophy and got drafted number 1. So then the whole thing about Notre Dame came up. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Urban had it in his contract if Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State came open, he could go to one of those 3 schools. Those are his 3 dream schools. So Notre Dame comes calling, and they've got the news helicopters flying around Salt Lake. They've got a track on the president and the athletic director of Notre Dame flying into Salt Lake City. They've got a camera crew at Urban's house, and they're following down the road in a black SUV down, and they meet at this hotel in Little America Hotel. and all the reporters, everybody, the whole town is fixated on this meeting with Notre Dame. He's going to Notre Dame. Well, then they come on, break in, and they have a reporter on the ground in Cincinnati at Urban Meyer's father's house. And he opens the door. They got the lights on, and he goes, "What's going on?" They said, "Well, we want to get your reaction to your son going to Notre Dame." He goes, "Notre Dame? He ain't going to Notre Dame. He's going to Florida. He's already he's already signed with Florida." And come to find out, the guy that sat with us at the Michigan game that had the blue blazer and the orange tie,
Yeah.
he was one of the power brokers for Florida. We
Hence
had
the
a
orange
Rose
and
Bowl.
blue.
We had a Rose Bowl rep and a Fiesta Bowl rep at that party. They sat at the bar. They bought raffle tickets. They were very open who they were. I always thought that guy was an Orange Bowl rep, but he never said anything. Anyway, next morning they announced that he signed with Florida. So I love that story. So
That's a good one. That's a good one, Dennis, man. So how did you end up out on the West Coast?
I was in the federal government, and one of the ways you make money is to move. So I was in Texas for a little bit. Was in Waco. Got to see the Pony Express play Baylor.
Really?
Yeah. Then I got transferred to San Diego. Lived in San Diego for several years, and then I got transferred up to Portland. I was here for about 15 years. Then I got promoted, and I had to be at an office where I worked in the IT department, and I had to be in a software development office because I was in charge of the 10 offices around the country. So the closest one was Utah. So I moved to Utah, and then in 2007 we had a big reorganization, and my new boss was located here in Vancouver, Washington, which is right across the river from Portland. And so my new boss moved me back in 2007. I closed on my house on a Wednesday. I moved in Thursday, and Friday morning I took the train up to Seattle to watch Ohio State play Washington. That was the last time they were in Seattle, was 2007.
Yeah, coming back this year.
Yep, can't wait.
So some people might not know that Dennis is a part of the Portland alumni club and fan club there of Ohio State. You hosted a lot of people when they came down to Oregon, including our mutual friend Devin from the Buckeye Boys. I see you sporting the OHIO podcast flag behind you there, man. That turned out really nice.
Sweet, yeah.
I'm gonna have to get me one.
I'll sell this now.
Sell it back to me. No, that turned out really nice. I'm gonna have to get me one. That's cool.
Yeah, it turned out real nice.
So you were flying that for us at the bar there, so people out West Coast could know and everything. So talk me through a little bit about how the game went for you as far as the Buckeye fans and everything against the Ducks there in Eugene.
Well, I've lived out here off and on for almost 40 years now, so I'm used to their fans. Little delusional, not as bad as Scum fans, but we found that bar. He was in Eugene. He was born and raised in, I think, Fremont area somewhere up there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So he was more than happy to turn it over to us. We had about 600 people from all around the country, all walks of life. We had some of the players' parents. One of our board members works with Emeka Buka's mother, so she was able to get us some merchandise signed by him. And then her and her husband came to the party, and she drew the winning numbers out for his jersey and mini helmet, a couple other things that we had. We had about 7-8 items. We did a couple there, then we did a couple for the Penn State game, and then we did a couple more for a raffle for the during Michigan. So but it was a nice turnout. Like I said, we had 600 people. Then the following day, we had a tailgate party across the street from the stadium, and I don't know, I'd say 300 people. We put a donation box out and covered all of our food expenses and stuff like that. The Sawyers were there. Got to meet Lyle and Michelle Sawyer.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Super cool.
Yeah, they're cool people.
The Styles, Lorenzo and Laverna Styles. Mm-hmm. They're great people. Just
he still looks like he could play. You know what I mean?
He had about a 10-inch stogie with him, and he had an Ohio State hockey sweater on, but he's still a pretty stout guy.
Yeah.
He looks like he could play. So, but that was well attended, and people from all around the country there. Florida, the hurricane kind of threw a wrench into things. We had a lot of people coming out from Florida and North Carolina, and that Hurricane Helene went through about that time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people didn't come out. So, but yeah, it was great. Then we, in the stadium, I didn't have any issues at all with Duck fans. Some other people did, but we didn't have any problems. We walked back to tailgate after the game, and we had to walk through all those Duck fans, and no one said anything to us. I think a lot of people felt, what a game. Lucky we got out there with a 1-point win.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Then my friends here, they were all pretty cool about it. I have a couple friends that have season tickets.
Yeah.
So
I've never had an issue with any fan in person at a game until this year at the Michigan game. It's the first year that ever happened to me, where someone he was obviously liquored up too much and just was being obnoxious and was really dogging Ohio State fans, and he was just I'd had enough. But other than that, I've always had really good interactions with fans in person. Now, online it's a different story, but in person, and in my experience, the nicest fans I've ever met are from Nebraska. I think Nebraska people they love Nebraska football so much, and they respect good football. And because they know good football and they respect good football, they respect us. And so they seem to be. I have a lot of good interactions with Nebraska people, and believe it or not, Notre Dame people I've had a lot of good interactions with too. I have several neighbors who are Notre Dame fans here in Central Ohio, and we're cordial until the playoffs. And I haven't talked to them since the playoffs, but they're pretty good people.
I went to that 2006, 2007, 2006 Fiesta Bowl against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And we had a big tailgate out in the parking lot, and we had a lot of Notre Dame people there. And I swear 95% of the Notre Dame fans were from Ohio. They're either from Cincinnati or Cleveland, the two big Catholic areas.
Toledo. Yeah, I see quite a few from Toledo too. Yeah.
So, Nebraska, I have really good friends that have season tickets. Her parents have had the tickets since the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And her husband, Patty, graduated from Nebraska, and her husband, John, graduated from Iowa. So normally I can get one ticket. Sometimes I can get two tickets. So I've been back the last 3 or 4 games when Ohio State's played. And you're exactly right. They are the nicest people. You go to Misty's. Have you been to Misty's there?
No, I
The
haven't.
steak.
Huh? I've heard of it, but no, I haven't.
Yeah, Misty's is great. And the band, they have alumni bands that come through. The cheerleaders come through. They have paths marked in the dining room where don't stand here because the band's coming through. People come up and say, "Hey, welcome to
Mm-hmm.
Lincoln. Eat
Yep.
anything. If you want anything, here's my card. Give us a call. Have fun tomorrow." Just like, wow. You feel bad when you beat them.
Yeah, beat the brakes off of them too.
And our tickets, Patty's tickets, are on the 50-yard line, and they're under the ledge. So if it's raining or something, and that's the money area of the stadium. And there'll always be other Buckeyes in there, and they'll start up, and I say, no, 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 be cool. These people are really nice here. You don't want to. They're not going to say anything to you,
Yeah.
and always shake their hand and say good game and stuff. And yeah, really nice. One of the best places to go is Wisconsin. We took a whole group of us back to Madison last year for the Wisconsin game. That was the second coldest game I've ever been to. But if you party and just mind your own business, it's fine. If you start getting cocky, then the Wisconsin fans will let you have it. But
Yeah.
it's a cool group up there too.
I've sat next to Wisconsin fans before, and I'll never forget him. He was pretty mouthy at the beginning of the game because they came into that game undefeated, and by the third quarter we were blowing them out. And he goes, "Well," he goes, "looks like it's a typical Ohio State Wisconsin game." He goes, "I bet you can't outdrink me." that was his silver lining that he was going to be able to outdrink any Buckeye fans around him. I guess he was going to drown his sorrows that day. But so, what did you think of this season, man? What was your overall thoughts of the team and the season, and what are you going to take away from it?
It was probably the biggest roller coaster season for a team that we shouldn't have had that type of feeling that season. It was, we had some really good highs. That Penn State game was a great game. Thought, okay, we got everything solved here. We've got the offensive line going back and playing well. Defense is playing well, getting pressure on the quarterback. That was the big thing at Oregon. It was evident, obvious to everybody, we weren't putting any pressure on Gabriel.
Yeah.
And now we found out there was a lot of discussions, a lot of meetings after that game, a lot of meetings after that scum game. That was probably, I marked down the 4 or 5 biggest losses of my heart.
Oh, okay.
That was probably the most mystifying loss.
Yes, I agree.
It's like, what did I just watch?
Yes, exactly. Which is why I mean, you remember, Dennis, I came on the show Sunday night after that game. I was so dumbfounded. I had never felt this way as an Ohio State fan in my entire life. And, I know a lot of people say, well, what about the 90s? You have to remember, during the 90s, I was a teenager. And, you got other things on your mind when you're a teenager. Ohio State is not the top of the priority list like it is now in my life, So, but I came out of that, and I've witnessed several losses in person. I've seen losses to Oregon in person. I've seen losses to Oklahoma in person. I've now seen multiple losses to Michigan in person. I've been to those games. I've experienced those losses, and I've never walked out of the stadium so defeated in my life. That, to me, I literally felt like I was punched in the gut by my own father. That's how devastated I was.
Yeah.
And you're right. Befuddled is the word. I couldn't comprehend what took place.
Yeah. Loss of words. What? But that fired them up. That got them together. They got them. They have the team meetings and the coaches meetings and the coach team meetings, and they got the room aired out, and they gone on with business.
Yeah.
So we watched them destroy Tennessee, watched them destroy Oregon, watched them destroy Texas, and watched them beat Notre Dame. Biggest run, best run of any college football team ever. So I think we'll see more of that. Of course, now we have the playoffs, so somebody's going to have to win all 4 games for next year, right? And the year after that. So, but the way we did it after that Michigan loss, I'm really proud of the team. Proud to be a Buckeye.
So tell me what the other 4 losses are on that list that you wrote down. I'm intrigued.
All right. Well, you got to remember I'm a little older than you.
Yeah, that's okay.
You got to remember, for the first 20 or 30 years, the only game you ever got on TV was Ohio State, Michigan.
Right.
68, I think the
Super Softs. Yep.
Yeah, Purdue was number 1. And that game was on TV. So I got to see two games that year. But the 69 Michigan loss with the Super Softs, that was their second year undefeated. They were 10, 11, 20-0, 21-0, and they lost to Scum in Ann Arbor. I was 15 years old then, so got sick of my stomach from that one.
Yeah.
Then the next one was the 76 Rose Bowl.
Archie, right?
Archie senior year.
Yeah. UCLA?
Corny. UCLA.
Yep.
We beat them 41-20 at the beginning of the season. And it goes back to the old adage, it's hard to beat the same team twice.
Yep. And
we went undefeated that year. We're number 1 in all the polls. Go out the Rose Bowl. And Wendell Tyler and John Sharara, the quarterback from UCLA, tore us apart. And I was in Colorado skiing at the time. And I was sick on my stomach. I mean, I didn't feel like doing anything that next day. Because it was just like, for sure, we're going to win the national title. We're going to win the national championship. Of course, I had a couple of friends in that team, too, and I was totally locked in on that whole year with them.
Yeah.
They did televise that UCLA game that year, so I watched it it was right before a Reds game. And I grew up a big Reds fan, too.
Yeah, so. Me too, man. You probably knew what I was talking about the other day when I talked about in that video when I talked about listening to my transistor radio to Joe Nuxall and Marty Brenneman.
Well, that I'm trying to think who the announcers were when I was a kid.
Yeah, Nuxall started before Brenneman, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, back in the '60s, I went to Pete Rose's first home game at Crosley Field.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had remember they used to give out the mini bats?
Yeah,
And I had a couple of those. The one was from Pete Rose's first game.
I'll be.
And my parents and our neighbors, they would sit outside and play euchre on the picnic table at night with the radio on with the Reds game. We'd go into town, get a jug of beer. They call it a growler now, but back in those days, just took a cider bottle into the local tavern, got it. And we'd sit out and we'd listen to those Reds games. And I always remember, seeing the heat lightning and the bugs and the cicadas, and then Reds game. Yeah.
Kids today have no idea how cool that was, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like I literally remember putting, because I'd have a bedtime as a kid, so, but they'd let me listen to the radio, and I would set my little radio up on my window behind my bed, and I would put that little antenna through through the screen, so I could, and I'd aim it south down I-71.
Some aluminum foil on it.
Yeah. and you could pick up 700 WLW out of Cincinnati, and I would listen to the games, and I was the first team I fell in love with from the Reds was the '90 team, that won the World Series. Marge Schott owned the team, and Eric Davis and Paul O'Neill and Tom Browning and Jose Rijo, Barry Larkin. All of those guys, Eric Davis, that was the first team I really fell in love with, and the Reds have just never had any magic since then for me, man.
I'm excited that the Fans carrying the Reds games this year.
Yeah, 97.1 The Fan. Yeah, they
so,
they used to be an Indians channel, and they've turned over to the Reds. So
so I'll be able to get the games because a lot of times you can't get the games out here. They have a block. You have to have the MLB app, and I'll sign up for all that crap. And I go, nah. So it's hard to follow baseball when you don't live in the baseball town.
I agree 100% with you, and it's getting harder the older I get too, because the game is no longer the same. It's just very, very different today. And I try. Last year I watched a few games, and until they kind of got too far out of it, and then I was kind of like done following them. But they did get me close enough to football to where it was good. Just stay competitive long enough to get me to football, and then I'll be all right.
Well, I lived in Pittsburgh. The Pirates went to the World Series.
Yep.
Then I transferred to Kansas City. That was during the George Brett days.
Oh, yeah.
I got to go to the World Series a couple times out there. And then I ended up in San Diego, Tony Gwynn and Steve Garvey and Gossage and all those guys. And they got beat by the Tigers in the World Series, but I got to go to a couple World Series games there. But all those towns, they would have businessman specials, like a Thursday noon game. Mm-hmm. Everybody would leave the hospital, pile in the truck, and go down to the ballpark and go to the games. And we in San Diego would sit out on the deck and listen to the game on the radio. And so up here we have the Mariners, and I've only been to a couple games, so just not into it unless they're down the road. So, but yeah, so the Michigan game, that 98 MSU game.
Oh, Jiminy Christmas. Yeah, that was brutal, buddy. That was brutal.
That was the year that we should have won it all.
Oh, yeah. And if they would have had this era back then, they probably would have still won it all because they were that good. They just had a bad day.
Had a bad day. Terrible day. But that was one I was sick on my stomach for a week after that one. And then that damn 2007 Florida game.
Yeah.
But ton of money. Went down for a week. Played the best golf courses. Stayed in the Residence Inn. Had a bunch of friends from Columbus in. We went, played golf and ate and drank. Spent about $3,000 or $4,000, and then we got our asses handed to us at Urban.
Yeah. And that game started off so good too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we're like, yeah, here we go. We're gonna win it.
Yeah, we were down in that end zone when Ted ran that opening kickoff back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Then it was downhill from there. So, and then that scum game, that was it. So
yeah, well, that's the list, man. But what's interesting about that? Yeah, I love it. There you go.
Just got it today.
Did you get it today?
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Well, all of mine I've given away. Like I ordered one for the fellow who calls on Thursday night's call-in show, and I sent that to him. And then I ordered one for my stepson, and and then my good friend, he ordered the hat for me. But everything I've ordered, I've given away. But I've got a couple. I got one of the trophies. on
yeah.
order. Yeah, so I'm excited about that, and one of those emblems that's on your shirt. They have an emblem, so I'm excited about that. But so what's the plans this year for the Washington game?
Well, we are. If you have you ever been to a game in Seattle?
I haven't. I'm seriously considering it. Going to saving up the money and going out there. Devin had such a good time going to Oregon. I was so jealous. And I had my wife and I had plans to go to Oregon the first time we were going to play them when
Right.
COVID canceled it. My wife and I were going to fly out there and spend the week in Oregon. We had saved up the money for it and everything, and then COVID hit and they canceled it all, and I was so disappointed. So we're considering coming out to Seattle and going to the game.
Well, the university sits on a peninsula, or not,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and the stadium is right on the water on Lake Washington. They actually have a marina there, so it's real popular to do what they call a sailgate instead of doing a tailgate, which there's really not a lot of areas around there around that stadium area, the college, to do a big tailgate. So they have sailgates. So you rent a yacht for a day. Uh, you go to their dock, park, get on the boat, party. They There's two lakes that's connected by a canal. There's Lake Washington, that's where Bill Gates and everybody lives, and then there's Lake Union, which is right just north of downtown. If you stay downtown, you can walk to Lake Union, and uh, the depending on where you pick your boat up, they'll cruise around Lake Washington. They'll tell you that's Bill Gates' house, and that's whoever's house, and the mayor's house, and that's the governor's house, and you have a cash bar and food. And then they dock at the stadium. You get off the boat, walk right into the stadium, watch the game. You come back out, get back on the boat, and then it goes to the other lake. So we've got a boat rented right now, and uh, we'll leave downtown Seattle and Lake Washington, and then cruise up, drop us off, go watch the game, and come back. Cruise around Lake Washington and come back into downtown at night, depending on when the game is. Of course, we don't
Yeah,
know what the game is. Probably won't
that
know until a week or two before the
that
game.
sounds freaking awesome.
So, um, yeah, so we're planning that right now. We're looking for sponsors, hint, hint, uh, to help defray the cost of the boat. Uh, we'll open it up to members and members' guests. And if you come out, you'll be my guest. Devin's going to be my guest. I think Steely Matt's coming out.
Oh, cool.
He'll be my guest. And there will be a charge. We're trying to use it to boost our membership. So we'll have a price for members and a price for non-members. So encourage people to join. Um, did I send you the picture of the boat?
No, I haven't seen it yet. Mm-mm.
So I'll send you a picture of the boat. Anyway, we'll have catered. There's 4 caterers. That's why I couldn't talk yesterday, because I had an appointment at 3:00 to talk to one of the caterers.
Oh, cool.
And we had a really bad snow and ice storm yesterday, and they didn't. I don't think they even went to work. They weren't.
Yeah. They're calling for another snowstorm here in Central Ohio, at least a small one, anyways, a wintry mix. But we haven't had a big snow yet this year. We've had some flurries here and there. We had a couple inches, but we haven't had the big one yet that we seem to get every year. But if we don't get it, I'll be fine with me. But what do you think about this year's upcoming team? A lot of change, man. A lot of players gotta have to be replaced, and new quarterback, new coordinators. Like, what's your thoughts on this year's team?
I'm excited. I just watched a video last night of. It was done by who was the receiver? Julian. Who's the receiver for the Patriots?
Oh, Julian Edelman.
Yeah, he has a podcast. Have you seen
Yeah,
that one?
yeah, and then he had Matt Patricia on, and
I'm good.
yeah,
I'm good.
he's like a rocket scientist for
Oh
real.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, and he's decided to be a football coach. Like the dude's kind of a genius. And
Yeah, he's a genius.
Chris is like, I don't care. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So
So I think I think one of the podcasters were talking about it last night where they were. It's going to probably give Ryan more time to spend with
Brian.
Brian and
Hmm.
the other. I forget who they named as the other co-coordinator.
Keenan Bailey.
Keenan Bailey. Thank you.
Hmm.
So, but we're loaded. Just next man up, right? Just
Right.
like we talked about this year with the offensive line. Next man up, get them in there. I I'm not worried a bit. It'll be good to see Kanata Jackson get some more playing time. Caden
Yep.
Curry,
Yep.
Kendricks, and is it Kendricks?
Caden
Yeah.
McDonald.
Edric Houston.
Edric Houston.
Yeah, that's it. Edric Houston.
Big boy from Georgia. We stole from the Bulldogs. So
Yep.
yeah, that defensive line has got a ton of potential. I'm a little worried about the depth, but the ton of potential. The linebacking room's got me concerned because there's just not a lot of experience there other than Sonny. I think the secondary is going to be fine. I think the secondary is going to be absolutely great. I have no worries about the secondary. They've recruited the secondary better than any other defensive position on the team. It's kind of crazy to say, but the strength of the offense outside of the wide receiver room is going to be the offensive line. And it has been a long time, Dennis, since we've been able to say that at Ohio State.
Long time. Yeah.
So I'm excited about that and that's why I'm not too worried about the running back situation. You know, the running back room, no Quinshawn, no Travion, but I'm like, look, one of those guys, at least one of those guys is going to hit. And if you have an offensive line that can block, they're all going to look good. You know what I mean? Like
Peoples and Bo Jackson.
Oh, give me Bo, baby. I
Bo
need
could play offensive lineman. He's a big dude. He's going to be it. I can't wait to see him haul the rock. It's going to be. And I've never seen this kid play from West Virginia, but I heard he's pretty good.
He's a bigger boy. He's a bigger boy. I kind of think he's kind of the mold that Quinshawn was. You know, he's going to put his nose in there. He's going to hit you. He's going to fall forward, get the tough yards, put him in on the goal line, maybe even be a lead blocker if we need that. That's kind of what I'm looking at. But don't sleep on the tight end we got from Purdue.
Nope.
That kid is a hoss of a human being. So we're going to be fine. And I don't want to put a ton of pressure on the quarterback, but this team, I think, goes as far as the quarterback will progress this season. And if we're 10-2 again, we're back in the playoffs. That's kind of the way I look at it.
Well, and I think that's our biggest question mark is the quarterback at least on the offense. Is we know he's talented.
Right.
You know that he was in the South Florida Express. You don't get on the South Florida Express if you're not a 5-star top recruit, right? I mean,
right.
They just don't take anybody on that. So I know he's putting on some weight now, so we'll see. I think I have all the faith in the world from Ryan Day as a developing quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I read today where the coaching staff is pushing this quarterback. It's wide open, and Lincoln Keenholz is going to have and that's what they're supposed to say, and that's what they're supposed to do. And if Lincoln surprises everybody, so be it. It's not going to be a bad thing, folks. That just means he won the job. He's that good. So
that's that good.
competition breeds excellence, man. So
Right.
let's let them go at it. But I do know that the coaching staff loves Julian Sain, and so I do think it's Julian Sain's job to lose. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm looking forward to spring ball, Dennis. I'm looking forward to uh, all the great content that we'll be producing here at the OHIO podcast. Any last story or anything you want to talk about, my man?
No, I think I've told enough stories. I'm bored of people enough.
No,
So
I loved it, dude. That was great, my man. I really appreciate that. And if you're ever out on the West Coast, or maybe you catch this and you're like, hey, I don't know who Dennis is, but I live on the West Coast. Get a hold of him, man. He'll help you out. You live in the Portland, Oregon area. Shoot, maybe even you live in the Seattle area. You want to be a part of this great event that they got going on. Get a hold of Dennis and
well,
take advantage.
Seattle has its own club.
Do they?
Yeah, so I don't know what they're going to be doing. Uh, this is for the port right now. This is for the Portland club because
Gotcha.
we have well, there's over almost 3,000 alumni in the Portland, Southwest Washington area.
That's unbelievable.
I have 50 Buckeyes on my mail list just here in the Vancouver area. You know, if we want to get together for a basketball game or a hockey game or something, we can just get together here locally.
Yeah.
Portland people do not like to come to Vancouver. They don't like to cross that bridge. So, but we go to Portland for our game watches. We have a bar downtown that we go to, and we pack those places every night, every game. The 9 o'clock kickoffs kill us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because then a lot of our members have kids. The
Mm-hmm.
Saturday morning's a big. In the fall, you've got basketball, you have soccer, you have
Soccer. Yeah.
Pee-wee football, you got all, and then about 11:30 noon, all these people start filing in with their kids with cleats on and bags of balls and stuff. They said, "We're sorry, we had soccer practice this morning. We had a
Yeah.
soccer game we had to go to. These 9 o'clock games kill us."
Yeah.
So,
Well, trust us. We got sick and tired of big noon kickoff every stinking week at the end of the season. I'll tell you that.
yeah,
But we'll see
I
if
don't
they
think
can
it's going to
correct
get any
that.
better though.
Well, I think the Big Ten, the next contract negotiation that happens, I guarantee CBS and NBC are gonna push for a little bit better of games, and if that's the case, they're gonna shell out more money, and you know what, money talks, man. So,
It does.
so
Yeah, if people want to come out, we have 3 wonderful wineries here, one in Portland and 2 out in the Coast Range. They're Buckeye-owned wineries. Wonderful wine. Wonderful wine. We have one, the winery here in Portland, we use all the time for some of our networking parties and stuff, our Christmas party. Jim Strauss owns it. He's got his master's from Ohio State in business. Then there's 2 out towards the ocean. So we have wine, we have the beaches, the coastline, all the seafood. We have the mountains. Our Buckeye Club does a ski trip every year up to Bend, Oregon, which is Central Oregon. So we have the mountains, we have fishing, hiking. Dev and Angie did a lot of hiking for a week after the game. They loved it.
yeah,
So so many things to do out here. So I live in Washington. There's no state income tax in Washington. It's like Tennessee.
nice.
So you're going to retire out here, this is a place to retire too. So
There you go. There you go.
but yeah, look me up. I'm on Facebook. I run the Portland Buckeyes Facebook page. We get a lot of people from out of state messaging me about coming out, going to a game, watching the game with us because they're going on a wine tour. What should I do? And we're more than happy to give information out. So
That's awesome, Dennis.
yeah,
Well, yeah, I appreciate you joining me today for this interview, Dennis. This was a lot of fun, and I appreciate getting in contact with you when we did beginning of the season, and I'm so glad that the OHL podcast is a part of the Buckeye Club and Association there, alumni club, and out west there in Portland, and it's cool to be connected this way, man. Buckeye Nation is so massive. You could literally, I told my wife, you could literally go anywhere and say OH, and someone will answer. And we put that to the test on our honeymoon because we went to Canada. And we're just walking downtown in Niagara Falls, and I just yell out OH, and literally about 20 people, I was like, there we go.
We have Kroger's out here, but it's called Fred Meyer.
Okay.
They're all over. There's one right down the street from me. And several months ago, it was probably last spring. I'm in line. Of course, I always wear my Buckeye gear, and get everything up on the counter, and we're going down the belt there. And the cashier, she finishes the guy in front of me off, and she looks at me. She goes, OH. I go, IO. And I said, are you from Ohio? She goes, no. She goes, Kroger's had a contest for all their employees nationwide, and I won. So me and my husband got to go on the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
Oh, there you go.
Kroger's flew us from Portland to Miami. We got on the boat, and we spent a week on the boat. She goes, we're Buckeyes now.
Oh, yeah, I guarantee they are.
So, yeah, everywhere I go here, no matter where I go, there's always an OH. I carry business cards. And when I see a license plate bracket or a flag on a car or a sticker, I put my business card on there. It's got our bar location and everything. Try to keep people go, I lived here 10 years and didn't know there was a Buckeye Club. I'm like, this is wonderful. So,
yeah.
But that's like that everywhere, no matter where you go. No matter Chicago, Dallas, Tampa. Oh, my God. So, it's great. So, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
I love you guys do a great job.
Thank you,
Chris hates everybody. But and Sean and Devin and Mello, TG, she's a star in the making. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
She knows her stuff. So.
Yes, she does.
But I appreciate you having me on. So
thank you, Dennis. I appreciate you, my man. So, all right, guys. So, like we do every week, we try to have one supporter of ours on every single week who's a member of the OHO podcast, so you can get to know them better and you can get to learn who Buckeye Nation is. And so, Dennis, I appreciate you coming on and joining us. So, I know you know how to do this. Be kind to one another. I owe someone's OH. Sing Carmen, Ohio with all your heart. Till next time. OH.
IO.
Go Bucks.